Hi class, welcome to another day and welcome to another video lesson. We're on section 5-3 right now. Yesterday on 5-2 we simplified polynomials using adding, subtracting, and multiplying. Now section 5-3 we're going to continue simplifying polynomials, but we're going to use the operation of dividing in this lesson. I'm going to teach you two different methods of dividing these polynomials, one being long division and the other one being synthetic division. So we use long division and synthetic division when we divide by a binomial, but when we divide by a monomial, which is the first two problems, we do something a little bit different. So we have a trinomial on the top, three different terms, divided by a monomial, one term on the bottom. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to divide each term by our, this should say denominator, by our denominator 4xy. So we're going to have this divided by the red, this divided by the red, and this divided by the red. And that's how we're going to write it. So it's 4x cubed y squared divided by 4xy plus 8xy squared divided by 4xy minus 12x squared y cubed divided by 4xy. Each term in the numerator is divided by the term in the denominator. So now we're going to divide each of these separately. So we have 4 divided by 4 is 1. X cubed divided by x makes an x squared in the numerator. And then y squared divided by y makes a y in the numerator. So our first term is x squared plus y. Plus our second term, 8/4 is the same thing as 2. X divided by x cancels. Y squared divided by y is y to the first. So we have plus 2y. And our last term, a negative 12 divided by 4 is a negative 3. X squared divided by x is x to the first. And y cubed divided by y to the first is y squared. So our first answer, when we divide the numerator by the denominator, we get x squared y plus 2y minus 3xy squared. Why don't you guys pause the video and try this one all on your own? After you've tried this one, hopefully you put everything over 5ab. So 5a squared b over 5ab minus 15ab cubed over 5ab plus 10 a cubed b to the fourth divided by 5ab. So now we simplify and we get a for our first term because our b's cancel out minus 3b squared plus 2a squared b cubed plus 2a squared b cubed. So hopefully all of you got this as your answer for problem number 2. I want you to be aware of something because in your assignment you might see something like this. But it's the exact same thing, isn't it? We have an a term, we have an a term. We have a negative 3b squared, we have a negative 3b squared. We have a positive 2ab cubed, a squared b cubed. Here's 2a squared b cubed. So when you're doing your assignment, and if you think you did everything right, then you get this. And for our A, B, C, D options on accelerated math, all you see is this. Well, make sure you try to rearrange your terms a little bit to see if you can make it fit. Okay? So they might not always be in the same order that we have it, but the terms should all be exactly the same. Okay, now we're going to divide by a binomial. So this is where we have to use either long division or synthetic division. First, let's bring you back to the 3rd grade when we first learned long division. Okay? So I'm just going to say we have the number 426 divided by the number 3. Let's just review how we do this. This is called an algorithm. It's how we divide. We're going to use the same algorithm for long division of polynomials. So the first thing we do is we say, does 3 go into 4? We say yes, it goes in there one time, so we put 1 on top. Once we get that, we multiply the 1 by the 3. We multiply it down. So 1 times 3 is 3. after this step, what we do is we always subtract. So we do the opposite. 4 subtract 3, and we get ourselves 1. And then we bring down this 2. Same thing. So now we have 3 going into 12. That happens 4 times. Multiply it down. 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract 0, bring down the 6, and then it goes into there twice. And then we multiply back down, 6, subtract, and we get a remainder of 0. So our answer is 146. Let's talk about some of the terminology here. This right here, our answer in dividing, this is called the quotient. Same thing with polynomials. This is called the quotient. This 3 right here, this is our divisor. It is the number that's going into the bigger number. That's our divisor. And this one right here, the 426, is called our dividend. This is called our dividend. Okay? So I'm going to be using those terms, that language, when I talk about long division and synthetic division with polynomials as well. Let's do one more third grade question. And the reason for that is because I want to prepare you on what happens when we get a remainder. So if I have 523 divided by 6. You don't have to write this, by the way. This is pretty basic math. If we have 523 divided by 6, I ask myself, does 6 go into 5? No, it doesn't. Does 6 go into 52? Yes, it does. It goes in there 8 times. Multiply it down. 8 times 6 is 48. I subtract. 48 minus 52 is the number 4. I bring down my 3. 6 goes into 43 7 times, because 7 times 6 is 42. I subtract, and I get a 1, so my remainder is 1. Sometimes in the third grade, you then did this whole decimal thing where you brought that down and we tried to get it to a decimal. One thing that you did maybe early on is you just put remainder 1, 87 with 1 left over, which sometimes that's done in accelerated math. But one thing that's more common that I like better is to write it as a fraction. So when we have a remainder of 1, you put that over your divisor. So it's 87 and 1/6. That's what happens most times in this class. When you get a remainder, you put it over your divisor. So let's make sure that we keep let's keep that in mind as we go through these problems. Okay, so now we're doing long division. So when I see x squared plus 2x minus 24, one way I could write that is like this. I have my divisor, x minus 4, on the outside of my division bar. This is called my division bar. I have my dividend inside my division bar, and I'm going to try to get my quotient right here. Okay, so we're going to set it up the exact same way just as you did in the third grade. Put your divisor on the outside of the division bar, put your dividend on the inside. Now we're going to focus on this first term. This first term is x, and we're going to ask ourselves a question: how many times does this go into here? Or x times what number goes into here? It's just like what you did in the third grade as well. You said, how many times does this go into that number? How many times does this go into here? X times what is x squared? Well, the answer is x times x is x squared. So you bring that up. Once you bring that up, class, just like in the third grade, you now multiply down. So you said x times x and x times a negative 4. We're going to multiply that. So x times x is x squared. X times a negative 4x is a negative 4x. Okay, once you got to this spot, what you have to do is you have to subtract this part, just like you did in the third grade. So we're going to subtract, which means we're going to change the signs on both terms. Subtract an x squared and subtract a negative 4x minus a minus 4x is plus 4x. So all we're going to do is just change the signs on both of those. And then we add it up. X squared plus a negative x squared is 0x squareds, so this is now gone. Class, I want to stress the importance of this step because this should always happen. Your first term should always cancel out. We rig it that way. Okay? So now we don't have any x squareds, and now we have 6x. Now just like in the third grade, you bring this down. So minus 24. After you bring that down, we're going to start this whole process over again with saying x times what gives 6x. So now we're saying how many times does this go into this? So x times 6 is 6x. So a positive 6 goes up here. Once you get this term, you multiply it down. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times a negative 4 is a negative 24. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the opposite. So we're going to subtract 6x, subtract the minus 24. So minus and minus means plus. And we get 0 as a remainder. So our answer for our quotient is x plus 6. And there we are done with that problem. That's how you use long division for dividing polynomials. There is an easier method in my opinion. You can use long division for every question on Excel math and for every question on the test, and I'm just fine with that. But I think it's easier to use synthetic division. Okay, it's a whole new algorithm. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you get it down, I think it's a lot easier. What we're going to do here, class, is we're going to have our division bar, except this time it's going to be an upside down division bar. So write that down on your paper. Our divisor still goes on the outside, so x minus 4 goes on the outside, except it's a single number. And it's going to be the opposite of what you see right here. So when you see x minus 4, the number that goes on the outside of our division bar is going to be a positive 4. Whatever you see in here, take the opposite. Put the number on the outside of the division bar. Now, these terms right here, we're going to bring down their coefficients, so the number in front of our variable. So it's going to be 1x squared, 2 x's, and a negative 24. Bring those down. Okay, so your paper should look like mine right now. This is going to seem a little bit weird at first, but the more times you practice this, I guarantee you, you're going to be very good at this by the time the lesson is done. You're going to bring down this 1. Okay, so write down, here we have 1. Now this is going to be a process of alternating multiplying and adding. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So we're going to multiply 1 times 4. That's going to be our first step. 1 times 4 is 4. You put that number right here. And then you add. 2 plus 4 is 6. 2 plus 4 is 6. Once you add, now we're going to multiply again. 6 times 4 is 24. Then you're going to add a negative 24 plus 24 is 0. So this right here, class, is always our remainder. We have a remainder of 0. So now this 1 and this 6, this isn't our answer. This represents the coefficients of our x variable from 1 power down from our highest power. So our highest power is x squared. So these numbers right here, they represent the coefficients 1 power down from that. So 1 power down from x squared is x to the first. This 1 right here represents 1 x to the first. So we get x to the first, and then 1 down from that is our constant term. So this 6 represents our positive 6. Our quotient, our answer, is the number x plus 6. And notice how this problem right here was the exact same problem as this problem. They are identical, and we got x plus 6 as our answer. We got x plus 6 as our answer. So when you do this for accelerated math or for any worksheets, you can use either method, long division or synthetic division. For the rest of our notes, I'm going to finish this out with synthetic division because I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is once we get going and once we learn the process. So number 5, we're going to have our division bar. We take the opposite of what's out here and put on the outside of our division bar, so 5 is our divisor. We bring down our coefficients on our dividend and get 1, negative 2, negative 15. Once we have that, we bring down the 1, we bring down the very first term, and then we alternating multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. 1 times 5 is 5. Add, you get 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Add, you get 0. Here is our remainder. We don't have any remainder. These numbers represent 1 power down from the highest power of x, the coefficients of that. So our highest power of x in our dividend is x squared. So this 1 represents 1x. X, and then this 3 represents our constant term, a positive 3. Our answer on this one, our quotient, is x plus 3. Let's try problem number 6. Here we have our divisor, so we're going to bring a negative 2 on the outside of our division bar. because we always take the opposite. Now we have an x cubed term. Now be very careful of this. Listen extremely close to this part, class. We have to bring our coefficients down in descending order. Here's what I mean by that. It's 1x cubed. After x cubed, we have our x squareds. It's a negative 6x squareds. After our x squareds, we have our x's. We have 0 x's. Make sure you do that. You have to put in what's called a placeholder. There's 1x cubed, then we have x squareds, then we have x's, then we have our constant term. And if there are no x's, you need to put a placeholder in of 0 x's. That is extremely, extremely important. It won't work out if you don't put in that placeholder. So 1x squared, 1x cubed, a negative 6x squareds, 0 x's, and a positive 1 for our constant term. There's our coefficients. Now we do our process of bring down the 1, and then multiply and then add. So 1 times a negative 2 is a negative 2. Add, you'd get a negative 8. Multiply, you'd get a positive 16. Add, you'd get a positive 16. Multiply, you'd get a negative 32. Add, you'd get a negative 31. Here is our remainder. So this one, it doesn't come out nice and clean and even. We have a remainder on this one. So all of these numbers that we got right here represent our coefficients from one power down from the highest power of x. The highest power of x is x cubed, so the 1 represents 1x squared. Minus 8 x's going in descending order, plus 16 with our coefficient. How I always want you to do it on the test and on our worksheets is put the coefficients over the divisor. The remainder over the divisor. So the remainder is a negative 31, so it's minus 31, and put that over the divisor, which the divisor is right here, x plus 2. X plus 2. And there's our answer for problem number 6. X squared minus 8x plus 16 minus 31 over x plus 2. Let's try another one, problem number 7. We have x cubed minus 64 divided by x minus 4. So our 4, the opposite of minus 4, is going to be our divisor. Our dividend is going to be 1x cubed, 0x squareds, 0 x's, and a minus 64. Make sure you put in those placeholders. It is crucial that you do that. Now we're going to bring down the 1. And then we multiply, 4, and then we add, 4, and then we multiply, 16, and then we add, 16, and then we multiply, 64, and then we add 0. This is kind of fun, isn't it? I kind of like synthetic division. Once you learn the process, it's very quick and simple. So we have a remainder of 0 in this one. So now our coefficients, our numbers right here represent the coefficients from one power down on the highest power of x. The highest power of x is x cubed. So we have 1x squared. We have 4 x's, and we have a positive 16. There is our answer for problem number 7. Why don't you guys pause the video, try problem number 8 on your own, and see what you come up with, and check your answer at the end. Hopefully you put a positive 2 out here for the division bar. Then we have to fill in our placeholders. So we have 1x to the 5th, 0x to the 4ths, 0x cubes, a negative 3x squareds, 0 x's, and a negative 20. Whew! A lot of stuff. 1x to the 5th, 0x 4s, 0x cubes, negative 3x squareds, 0 x's, and negative 20. So there's our coefficients. So we're going to do a lot of multiplying and adding in this one. Bring this down and we get 1. Multiply, 2. Add, 2. Multiply, 4. Add 0 and 4 to get 4. Multiply 4 times 2 to get 8. Add positive 5. Multiply 10. Add 10. Multiply 20. Add 0. There lies our remainder. So the highest power of x is x to the 5th. So these numbers represent one power down from that, which would be x to the 4th. And then we go down in descending order. Here we go. 1x to the 4th plus 2x cubes plus 4x's plus 4x squared, plus 5x's plus 10. Our quotient, x to the 4th plus 2x cubed plus 4x squared plus 5x plus 10. And there is our answer. If you need more practice with this class, which is very, very possible, please let me know and I can give you some more problems to do. It's like anything, the more you practice something, the better you get at it. And synthetic division might be a little bit puzzling at first, but it becomes very, very simple the more practice you get. Be sure to let me know if you have any questions when you get to class tomorrow.